Hey guys, this is Tanner Invest here, and today we're going to be talking about GLXY, ticker symbol GLXY, and why this is one of my most bullish holdings that I have today. Why I think in the years to come, this company has the potential to be a 10-bagger. Like, I'm not even kidding when I say that. Now, before we get in, disclosure, I do have a position in GLXY, and two, this is not financial advice. Like, no one just go and buy GLXY because you watch this video. Please do your own research. So I don't want to hear anybody in the comments, Tanner, I bought GLXY and it went down 20%. This is a really volatile asset, or a really volatile stock. And I'm going to get into why I think, though, that this has potential. So for those that don't know, GLXY is a company that has three different businesses. So one, you may know them from their crypto business because they are really heavily involved with large transactions. So they're helping companies they're basically a liquidity provider and OTC trader for large purchases of Bitcoin, whether it's through hedge funds, private investment firms, family offices, or really just some incredibly wealthy investors out there. For example, they actually this year and in this quarter realized a lot of money because they had a transaction worth over $9 billion in Bitcoin from a Satoshi era investor that actually they needed to find liquidity for. And so they were trusted by one of the most wealthy people in the cryptocurrency space out there to be able to find people to buy and not affect the market price of, that's what liquidity providers are doing, OTC. So you can't just go to the market and sell 9 billion in Bitcoin. You need to go to someone that you can trust to then find people to buy that off the market, right? And so I love this company so much because it's not just the crypto business, right? Not only do they do, the crypto business is they help companies stake. They have so much assets under management. They are huge into stable coins. They're massive into just DeFi in general. But also they have another business, which is their treasury. So they have a ton of assets for crypto. They have, let me just scroll down here for a second. They have 546 million Bitcoin, 258 million Ether, 251 million Solana. They have 646 million in venture and fund investments. So you may have heard from BMNR or SBET. They were actually one of the original PIPE investments for those two companies, as well as one of the major Solana treasuries called Ford. And so they're really smart. I actually have a ton of notes from their earning call that just happened here this week. So Mike Novogratz, the CEO, fantastic leader. He was on the call, and I took just notes after notes after notes from him and the CFO on different things that they were saying about their company, because it is a complex business. Because not only do they have their crypto side, I didn't even get into the third prong approach yet of what their company does. They also are a data center company. So they have a mega campus with, right now, they have 800 megawatts of total gross capacity of power, and they're have a potential to have 3.5 gigawatts of power. And so right now, like I said, a lot of that's approved through ERCOT, which is like Texas's like governing body over who gets power and when. They have a lot of that power today, but they don't have all of it yet. So there's still some studies that have to go on to be able to allow them to get more power over time. But with this Helios campus, they've already executed a large lease agreement with CoreWeave over the next few years. By 2028, they should have the 3 phases finished. The first phase will be finished in expected delivery in the first half of 2026, followed by the second phase in 2027, and the third phase in 2028. This is just a build out. This kind of fell in their lap, said Mike Novogratz, the CEO. It kind of just fell in their lap, and it seemed like too good to be true. They decided, you know what, we're going to pivot. We're going to be able to buy this land. And they saw kind of this AI revolution, this high power compute revolution happening before their eyes. And so since then, they've been securing a lot of financing to be able to fund the project. They have had some dilution because of that. But ultimately, if you've seen their stock price, I think the potential has outweighed, obviously, that dilution, because the stock price has just up and up and up. This week, actually, after earnings, the stock price went up dramatically, like 10% after the algos saw the numbers, and then dramatically decreased because of just this week in general. There's been a huge drawdown on risk on assets. So a lot of my companies that I'm not a super risky investor, but a lot of high risk stuff has got drawn down, such as quantum, these data center plays, things like that. But today we're going to get into all of this stuff, and I'm going to go through one by one the 3 different prongs of their business. Does that even make sense? 3 different prongs. I'm trying to figure it out, but anyway, the 3 different parts of their business. I'm gonna break down what Mike and the team have been saying about these 3 businesses, and then I want to get into some other things because there's a lot of exciting things going on with this company. So first, let me share my screen. And this video is going to be a little bit of hopping around. I try to make my videos kind of like freestyly. So it's like just me and the camera. I'm not doing a ton of editing. It's just kind of my pure thoughts. So if you guys like this kind of style, then please like and subscribe. I would appreciate that. And I do plan on covering this stuff for a while. Let's go and hop in. So let's look at their performance. So this is their Q3 results. And I mean, wow, guys. I mean, they just blew it out of the water. You're seeing things like their loan book going up by 60%, their assets under management on their digital asset side up 66%. And I actually tweeted with showing a lot of their overall, let me just find this real quick. I will just go to my profile real quick. And if you want to follow me on X, I try to put out stuff like this. I at least retweet. Their EPS is up over 1,000% year over year. Their revenue is up 235% year over year. EPS up over 1,000, and just the revenue quarter over quarter up 223%. Look at these beats. They beat the analysts' expectations by 90% on the revenue and EPS by 261%. I mean, this company is just growing like crazy. I mean, there are a lot of catalysts that helped with this, and I'll explain why. But primarily, let's get into kind of one thing here. There is a investor that trusted the heck out of them this quarter. So GLXY executed one of the largest notional Bitcoin transactions ever. There was a Satoshi era investor that actually had 80,000 Bitcoin worth over $9 billion. And guess who they trusted to be able to provide the liquidity for the sale? They trusted GLXY. So that's massive. I mean, this is crazy. So they got so much fee revenue out of this. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, that just goes to show that this company is the real deal. If you're going to, you have one of the biggest piles in your entire, in the entire world of Bitcoin, and you're going to GLXY to help transact that and broker that deal. That's incredible. So let's go ahead and hop into some other news about this company. They did recently announce a PIPE investment, which this was a private investment for some of their shares at $36 a share, because they were raising money a lot, which $460 million in this case, from a strategic investment. And they're not disclosing who bought this, but it obviously was a major player out there. And they are investing directly into GLXY to help with the data center Helios build out, because it takes a lot of money to make money in this world, and these data centers aren't cheap, so they got to raise money for that. They also, in this quarter, they released a new trading app called GLXY One. So GLXY Digital unveils a new trading app with a shocking 8% APY. This is for accredited investors through structured notes, and they offer a 4% cash yield. But this product is really cool. I actually have a slide here. I actually want to download this just to see how it is. I'm curious, like their fee revenue, the fees for crypto trading, because man, crypto is expensive. Like that's part of the reason why I'm buying like these digital asset treasury companies or ETFs, just because man, those freaking fees are crazy. But pretty cool that they just announced this. This is a retail investing platform that is supposed to help offer kind of the same services that they do to their institutional clients. Now, actually, in the earnings call, I have some quotes on this particularly. So he mentioned that GLXY One is targeting the high-end consumer that has the same that wants the same access to institutional clients. They have a super ambitious roadmap. 6 to 8 months are going to turn this into a one-stop shop, what they said. One thing that's really interesting too is their FDIC insured checking account with the highest interest that they could find. So that's where you're talking about that 4% APY, and that 8% yield is really getting a lot of traction. So GLXY, even though it's brand new, something to look forward to. These results probably won't be showing until next quarter because they really didn't have anything quarter other than this. But that being said, let's hop into some of the things that they said about crypto in general. So regarding their DeFi business, they wanted to talk about the drawdown recently. So we know what's happened. You know, this is the weekly chart. We know that there was a huge liquidation in cryptocurrencies this week. They mentioned that they actually did extremely well during that liquidation. They had 0 credit losses, and that they said market makers were primarily the people got hurt, and about 25% of those market makers are out of business now. So in the future, in the near future, he said it's going to be rough, but in the long term, it's going to be, in his opinion, you know, it's healthy that this happened. But in the short term, there will be wider bid asks. There will be obviously less liquidity. And he said retail got hurt because there were a lot of leveraged accounts that got absolutely wiped out. So I hope none of those were you guys out there. But that was a rough day. Their stock actually didn't get as hurt as a lot of others did. So that's good. But they did mention that they still, because they have this huge balance sheet of different cryptocurrencies, that there will still be a correlation between their stock price and crypto. So he said, though, in the long term, that their goal is to try to break out of that correlation. And he talked about how the price of crypto assets within their treasury will be directly, though, affecting that stock price. So he also said things like Bitcoin at $1 million will make sense one day. Like he does. He's still very, very bullish on the price of Bitcoin going up. His short-term prediction on Bitcoin, actually I saw in an interview today, was between 120 and 125,000 by the end of year. And to be honest, that's about what like I've been thinking. You know, Tom Lee's been throwing out these crazy numbers like 200, 250,000. But I mean, we only have like two months left, guys. So I mean, I think that 120 to 125 is a little bit more reasonable. And he did mention that the market structure bill, that Clarity Act, I have a full video on it if you haven't seen it already, that is like one of the biggest catalysts going forward for cryptocurrency. But he also mentioned that the 5-year outlook on crypto, there would be so much tokenization that you'll see a blending between digital assets and TradFi. And that's what his company is helping do. They're helping bridge that gap. TradFi companies say they know it's coming, so they need to figure out how to partner, how to buy within the crypto space. And so those companies that know that, you know, blockchain is happening and that they need to get on the boat, they're going to be running to companies like Galaxy Digital. That's one of the reasons why I'm incredibly bullish on Galaxy. So the merging of crypto infrastructure with TradFi will be a story for the next few years. So that is great for companies like Galaxy, because who are they going to go to when they need help with that space? They need help staking. They need help with asset management. They can go to Galaxy. And if they want to buy crypto, they go to Galaxy. And so one thing he mentioned too is that the balance sheet business. So if you guys don't know, I mentioned earlier, BMNR and SBET are strategic investments for Galaxy. And he actually mentioned that this was a huge catalyst in why their numbers were so good this quarter. Because he said, we did a great job of understanding when these treasury companies were starting. That way we could help manage their assets and stake. So I think he said he thinks, though, we're on the tail end of establishing DATs. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of room between Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, DATs. So he said there will be some other DATs coming out. Like he knows there's a DAT starting in Hyperliquid, for example. But he mentioned that there's just too many DATs right now in the main 3 cryptocurrencies, which is Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, right? So he did mention that they did a great job, though, which I'm really bullish on that, because they have made so much money being a pipe investor, getting in these early. And not only that, but being trusted to make trades. So, BMNR, they've been going, who do they go to when they're trying to buy 200,000 Ether? They go to Galaxy. So that's massive for them, because they're providing that liquidity for companies like BMNR, and they're collecting the fee-based revenue. That's part of the reason why their quarter just exploded. So super excited, except I think in the long run, like there will be a slowing down of that side of the business, because DATs, I think over time will likely slow their roll, especially if the price of ETH does just skyrocket, I think that it could cause like some DATs obviously to slow their roll, and a lot of DATs out there have already slowed down. So other than that, let's go ahead and get into the data center stuff. So if you're excited about the data center, now's the time. We're going to be talking about that. So one thing is that let's go ahead and go to a slide to show you the data center here. So here's their their data center is still like vastly under construction. This was a photo taken in September of 2025, so not too long ago. It is in Texas, and they are on time. So they're on schedule with construction. He said they have over 500,000 hours logged, and they have 700 construction workers that are daily on site. That's a lot of people that are helping out with this project. They said, what really sets them apart from these other data center companies that they're competing with is that, what sets them apart is that they need to execute, and that they're proving that they can execute. So they are trying to get this done on time. So that is the main thing. They need to make sure it's on time. And so they're on time, as they said, for first half of 2026 to start delivering the power to CoreWeave and starting to collect revenue in 2026. That is massive. So that is going to be a huge catalyst for the stock. Now, one thing to mention is that we know that these 3 phases have now been leased out to CoreWeave, right? So one thing to mention is that they expect more power. So part of Mike's plan is to have way more than just 800 megawatts power. They want to have an additional 2.7 gigawatts, and that is from their studies what they think. And it actually says it here. GLXY expanded its Helios campus, increasing the total size by 1,500 acres and 2.7 gigawatts of additional potential power capacity. So it remains under study by ERCOT, but he said he's feeling really good with what ERCOT is saying. So ERCOT is whatever their conversations are internally. ERCOT seems to be helping them potentially get this amount of power. Obviously, there's a big backload, but he mentioned specifically that ERCOT is weeding out the requests for power that haven't done the studies or haven't put in the work, but GLXY has. So GLXY is like first in line, not first in line, but they're toward the beginning of the list of being in line to receive power in comparison to all these other people who have put in requests. You know what I mean? So that's exciting. And then he said, we feel pretty good that 800 isn't going to be our total footprint. So, and when he said that, he actually laughed. He's like, we feel pretty good that 800 isn't going to be our total footprint. So that's great to hear, because that means he's really confident that they will be getting more power. And when that gets announced, I mean, that is going to, in my opinion, I think the stock should react to that and get re-rated, because they just have so much potential revenue in the future. I mean, if you see here, they have 1 billion revenue expected for about 800. I mean, that's like 1.25 million per 1.5 million per megawatt. So if you multiply that by a total of 3,500, you're looking at like $4.5 billion that they could be getting in anticipated average revenue. And essentially, they're just like a real estate company. They just have the land, they have the power, they're renting it out. One thing to note too is they were talking a lot about CoreWeave's credit quality, because CoreWeave is a business that they're a new business, and I actually worked in capital equipment financing for a long time, and it is not easy. I mean, when COVID hit, I worked with a client who needed a bunch of high-end equipment, and they were denied. They had to like have personal guarantees signed to like their freaking like personal finances if something were to fall through. Like, banks don't want to give out money to people that they don't know can pay their bills, right? Like, that's obvious, right? And so this is happening with a company like CoreWeave, where they are a bigger credit risk than like a huge, Mag 7 company like Google or Meta, right? So they're trying to determine on whether going forward they're going to keep using CoreWeave and potentially, give more to CoreWeave, because they think, they could potentially get more money out of CoreWeave. But if they diversify, they actually said their core sensibility of their business is diversification and risk management, and that they are kind of biased and actually spreading out their lease tenants moving forward. So it sounds to me like, unless CoreWeave doesn't pay up, and one thing that, that makes sense too, is that over time, as CoreWeave grows in their revenues and as they pay off debt, their credit quality could go up over time. And who knows? We never know. Like maybe Galaxy will just lease out more to CoreWeave. But it sounds like at this time, if they were to make that decision, that they would diversify that a bit. Okay. So they also mentioned that they want to refinance in 2026. And they said refinancing in 2026 could potentially provide hundreds of millions of equity as both CoreWeave and Galaxy's credit profiles both strengthen. So that's good to know as interest rates are coming down. And as their credit profiles strengthen, it could really help get their interest rates on their equity that they're pulling out like a lot lower, right? So that's really good to know. Trying to figure out like what else is really important from. And I took, like I said, I took a lot of notes. But I mean, I think that's pretty much it. So this company, they're growing like crazy, guys. I mean, let's look at this again. They have a huge beat on both EPS, on both revenue. They have this potential huge amount of money coming in from the data centers. They're on time, which is a huge update. They also just are doing great things, both on the crypto side. They're trusted by some of the largest institutions, private investors. They're trusted by, for providing liquidity, derivative trading, OTC trading, all these things. And I'm just incredibly bullish on this company. They're also making smart decisions, guys. They got into the DATs early. They were pipe investors for both BM&R, SBET. I mean, man, Mike has done a fantastic job. Like this guy has gotten an A+. Like if he were to have a report card, an A+. He's also just spreading the knowledge about Galaxy. He's been on CNBC a lot. He's been just being very present within the overall crypto ecosystem. So, hats off to this guy. Like I'm just blown away. Just trying to make sure I didn't forget anything. I think we're good. One of the other things I know I did talk about, there was a thing that he said about Steve here. I have this pulled up, but I'm trying to find the quote. Oh, he said Steve Kurz, which is the global head of asset management. He said he has been meeting he says he has about a meeting a day, it seems, with someone looking to partner with us. So he's talking about institutions here, by the way, because this is the global head of asset management. So he's saying that they have a ton of demand for institutions to work with them because this guy, Steve Kurz, is apparently incredibly busy right now, speaking with a ton of different institutions on how they can get involved, how they can buy crypto, and how they can hold and use Galaxy as, obviously a partner in that space. So, all right, that's it for me, guys. I put a lot of effort in this video, a lot of studying. I watched like the earnings call like literally 2 times, and so I really appreciate all the support, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, please, give me a like, and if you want to subscribe, that'd be great. So thank you, guys. Have a great day.